2025 is already 50% over, and if I had to start learning UX design right now in this world of AI, this is the exact roadmap I would follow. Because the game has changed pretty much. I don't mean to scare you, but I don't want to give you false hopes either. I'm not saying that everything that you have known or done in the past is irrelevant now, but you need to be in the present and adapt to the changing needs of the industry so that you remain aware and relevant. All your past knowledge will still be relevant, highly relevant in fact, but you'll have to change the way you do things. At Config 2025, I had some great conversation with design leaders from top companies around the world, and surprisingly, they all said the same thing. They're no longer just hiring designers the way they used to. They are now looking for builders. And no, by builders, they don't mean people who can code or designers who have learned to code. They mean people who can take up an idea and actually turn it into a real product end to end. Basically, they're looking for people who can vision like founders, strategize like product managers, think and craft like designers, and ship like developers. In other words, product unicorns. Isn't it too much to expect from a single individual? Yes, it may feel like a lot, but it's not impossible, especially with the help of AI. Now, when I say you should strategize like a product manager and ship like a developer, I don't mean you have to do everything alone or that PMs and developers won't be around anymore. They absolutely will be there. What's really happening is that the lines between these roles are starting to blur. But even in this new world, your core strength will still be design. That's your superpower. And some of you might also be thinking, hey, I already help shape the vision, plan the strategy, and ship products. Isn't that what I'm supposed to do as a designer? Well, if you're doing these things, that's great. But here's the shift. What once helped you stand out as a designer is now becoming the new baseline, and AI has got a lot to do in this aspect. You will get to know very soon later in this video. This video is designed to take you from wherever you are to being AI-ready designer in 6 months. This is the new playbook you will likely need to adopt going forward. Here's what we will cover. Fundamentals, of course, mastering tools, learning anything with AI, getting better at human powers, vibing everything, building or updating your portfolio. By the end of this video, you will know how to be a strategist, builder, and future-proof product thinker all in one. Grab a pen and paper because we are going to cover a lot. Let's get started. Alright, month 1 is for foundations of design. No video on design career roadmap will ever be complete without this section. Even if I'm making this video 3 or 5 years from today, it will still have a section on foundations because the fundamentals never change. And one of the first and the foremost fundamentals I want you to start doing this month is to look at the world like a designer. If you watch my videos, you might have seen me repeating this over and over again. What exactly do I mean by looking at the world like a designer? You see, most people just see things. But as a designer, you will have to go beyond just seeing. You'll have to observe, question, and think. Whenever you see anything around, could be any app or website or any physical object around you like a water bottle, don't just look at it. Start asking questions in your head like, what is this? What is it meant to do? Who is it for? Why is it shaped like this? Could it be designed differently? What is the small ridge supposed to do? Is it easy to use? What happens if my hands are wet or slippery? Will it break if I drop it? Can it be used for something else as well? At first, this might feel like an effort, but if you keep doing it, it becomes your habit. And over time, even a quick glance at anything will trigger the answers to all these questions very naturally in your head. Thoughts about what makes something works, what makes it beautiful or useful, or whether it could improve or not will become natural. You see, regular people might just say, oh, that looks nice. But as a designer, you will know why it looks nice. What are those 1 or 2 things in it which is making it stand out? What decisions went into it and what could have been done differently? And most importantly, how can you adopt some of these when you're designing yourself? That's the real difference. A lot of times we struggle to recreate designs we liked because we never really analyzed what made them great in the first place. That's why this habit matters. When it becomes a part of how you think, critiquing and design spotting details won't feel forced. It'll just be how your brain works. And that's the ability to see deeply and think critically is what truly makes someone a designer. Well, while you are building that habit of observing like a designer, you need to start with the basics of design theory. Now, I know the word theory sounds boring, But trust me, this isn't about memorizing definitions. It's about absorbing ideas. You can even read it like a story in the beginning. That's all fine. To get started, I made a video where I break down 12 essential UX laws with examples. It's a great introduction and an easy way to understand how design works in the real world. Do watch it. I'd also highly recommend checking out gestaltprinciple.com and lawsofux.com. Both of these have solid theory with real-world examples, which makes a huge difference. Just one tip, don't ever read theory in isolation. If you do, it might start feeling too technical like a textbook and you might feel disconnected from actual work. The best way to learn theory is by seeing how it applies in real design cases. That's why the sources that I have recommended are filled with examples that you can relate to. At the same time, start getting comfortable with UI design principles as well. Things like color theory, typography, spacing and layouts, these are the foundation of good design. And again, the important part is don't just read about them, try them out. Play around with these concepts on Figma. Yes, by now you should have a Figma account. It's a tool you'll probably spend 90% of your time when you're designing hands-on. So every time you read about something, whether it's font size, line height, spacing or alignment, go to Figma and try it out yourself. See what happens when you do what the rule says. That's how you will really see the theory come to life. A simple way to practice all these is to redesigning a screen from your favorite app. It helps build a sense of visual hierarchy, clarity, and consistency. Well, the U in UX stands for user, and whatever you do has to be centered around your users. Human beings. Design isn't a job which can be done only by sitting in front of a computer. A large part of it involves knowing human beings, their needs and wants, their likes and dislikes, human psychology in general. And the most natural way of doing is to meet and discuss with people around you. Join design communities to start immersing yourself in design discussions and feedback culture. Here are some subreddits I recommend you join, and you can take a screenshot of this later. Definitely visit friends.figma.com. This is the official website of all Figma communities around the world. They even organize offline sessions and meetups for upskilling and networking, perfect for you to step out of your comfort zone, build social skills, meet new like-minded people, discuss your challenges, and really grow as a designer. And talking about offline sessions and meetups, Odoo Community Day 2025 is the perfect opportunity. It's happening this August 13th and 14th in Gandhinagar, Gujarat, and it is said to be one of India's biggest tech and business events with over 20,000 attendees, 200 plus expert sessions held by real business experts and influencers, and even live demos of their newest features in Odoo 19. You'll get the chance to meet creators, network with like-minded people, connect with founders, bounce off your ideas, and get behind-the-scene insights. The kind of exposure makes you a sharper, more future-ready designer, and you will get to know how upcoming and seasoned businesses are interpreting design in this age of AI. And it's not just work, it's a full experience. They also have arranged interactive zones, amazing food, and even an after party to wind down. The best part is registration is completely free. I've left the link in the description. Do check it out. This might be one of the smartest moves you make this year. Alright, month 2 is about mastering Figma. Hey, wasn't this supposed to be about AI? So why are we still talking about Figma? Hold your horses, folks. We have a lot to cover in this video, and Figma is one of them. You see, mastering Figma is like learning the language of design. Once you know it, AI becomes your co-pilot, not your crutch. Start with the basics of Figma. Learn the interface of Figma and get comfortable with it. Remember, as a designer, you will be spending more than 90% of your time on this tool when you are doing hands-on design. So you should know Figma like the back of your hand. Practice creating frames for different devices, draw shapes, add images and text, and organize your layers. Create a simple one-screen design like a login or a profile page to get comfortable. Next, use what you have learned to design a simple multi-screen app, maybe a weather app or a to-do list. Keep it clean, consistent, and well-structured. I'm suggesting all these especially for first-time designers so that you build the muscle of Figma. When you're in the process of figuring out a complicated layout, you shouldn't be in a position that you know what to do, but you do not know how to do it on Figma. The only thing that should limit your ability is your thinking and not your tools. That's why it is very important you get fully comfortable with Figma. And if you need guidance while doing these practices, check out my Figma walkthroughs on YouTube, including redesign of DigiYatra and Amazon app. That should definitely help you. I would also highly recommend getting comfortable with constraints and auto layouts on Figma. Just a year ago, I would have told you that constraints and auto layouts are just a good to have thing. Of course, they are just features on Figma which makes the process of UI design a little faster and easier. Knowing how to use auto layout has got nothing to do with how well you can design. In fact, using auto layout in your design is not going to give you any brownie points. Then why am I talking about it? Well, because now in the world of AI, its importance has grown with the rise of AI-powered developing tools. Here's why. Modern AI and vibe coding tools can now read your Figma files and instantly turn them into real website or apps, but they rely on your layout logic to do that. Auto layout and constraints are what tell these tools how your design should behave, not just how it looks. For instance, what happens when the screen gets wider? Should the elements stretch, stay in the center, or scale proportionately? Should a text box grow or wrap? These are the kinds of behavior you can define using constraints and auto layouts. So no, you don't need to master auto layout for the sake of design, but if you're working on the world of AI-assisted workflows, or you plan to develop your designs with AI tools, it becomes absolutely essential. That said, please don't overuse auto layout. I've seen a lot of beginners trying to auto layout everything. Please don't do that. It's a powerful tool, but like all tools, it's most effective when used with intent. Understand why you're using it, when it adds value, and how it's helping you rather than slowing you down. When you're still exploring layouts and trying out different ideas, don't worry about applying auto layout right away. Let yourself design freely without constraints during the ideation phase. Once your design is final or close to final, that is the right time to apply auto layout. Use it to bring structure, consistency, and responsiveness to your polished designs and not before that. Towards the end of this month, take time to explore Figma community. Download files shared by experienced designers to see how they structure their layouts, name layers, organize components, and maintain design systems. It's a great way to learn by reverse engineering real-world work. Also dive into the world of plugins. They're essentially mini tools that extend Figma's capabilities beyond the default features. Think of them as handy power-ups. Start with practical ones like content reel for dummy text or image, or color palette generators to quickly build a theme. These can significantly speed up your workflow and reduce repetitive tasks. I have tried 100 different Figma plugins, and I've also made this video on the best ones. Do check it out. In 2025, Figma also rolled out some exciting new additions. Figma Draw, perfect for anyone into illustrations or wanting to add an artistic touch to their UI designs. You can now place text along any shape like a circle, or even apply different brush styles to your strokes, something that wasn't possible before. Figma Buzz. Think of it like Figma's take on Canva. It's built for designers working on social media creatives, and it's super intuitive yet surprisingly powerful. Figma Make, a new edition aimed at creators and builders. I've got a whole section coming up for this, so keep watching this video. All of these tools point to one thing. Figma isn't just product design anymore, it's becoming a full-blown creative suite, and the sooner you start exploring these features, the more future-ready your workflow becomes. Long story short, you're not learning Figma instead of AI. You're learning it so that when you do work with AI, you actually know what you are doing. Alright, let's move to month 3. And this is learning anything with AI. Okay, maybe not how to fly a plane, not yet at least, but anything that is intellectual, teachable, and can be translated into text or visuals, you can totally learn. Let's take a real-world example. Suppose you're in a product meeting and someone casually drops the term PRD. You nod along, but deep down you have no idea what that means, but now you want to learn it. Learn not just the definition, but also how to make a PRD. Well, a PRD, or a product requirement document, is basically the blueprint for building a product or feature. It outlines everything: what the product aims to solve, what business metric it should move, what the user flow looks like, how many resources it might need, and even the timelines for releases. It's detailed, structured, and crucial. The product managers make the PRDs. Now, if you want to learn to make it as well, you could of course Google it and read a few articles, go to sample PRDs and stuff like that, but let me show you a much faster, hands-on way to learn. Just open ChatGPT and type, "Write a PRD for a feature that lets users schedule messages in a chat app." Of course, replace the feature with whatever you're actually building. Within seconds, you'll get a full-fledged PRD, not just a definition, but an actual working draft. It'll likely include all the details and sections that a PRD has, and for the features you have asked for it to make a PRD for. Sure, it will be a generic one, but that's okay. It gives you something to absorb and react to, edit, and then refine. And no, this doesn't mean you've suddenly become a product manager. That's not the point. The point is you are learning by doing. In fact, this generic ChatGPT generated PRD is way more helpful than reading someone else's sample PRDs at different company, because this one is built around your own feature, even if you have only described it in one sentence. It helps you see what a PRD looks like, what details to have, what not to have, what sections to include, what to not include, and so on. And from there, you can add your own feature details and user context. Ask ChatGPT to further refine specific sections with your specific inputs. Include edge cases and constraints. Iterate on resources, timelines, KPIs, and flows, and whatnot. Repeat this process a few features, and you will soon be comfortable writing your own PRD without any big help from AI. But this isn't just about PRDs. Want to learn how to write a cold email, draft a business plan, prepare a user research report, structure a UX case study, even explain quantum mechanics to a 10-year-old? It all starts with curiosity and the right prompt. You don't need to know everything to get started. You just need to know how to ask, and ChatGPT becomes that perfect learn-by-example companion. You have no idea the kind of things I have tried to learn using ChatGPT, from figuring out the right way to trim my nails all the way to planning my finances. I've used to understand, explore, analyze, and eventually make informed, conscious decisions. And if you're planning to use ChatGPT for analytical work like researching, comparing information from multiple sources, or even crunching data, switch to GPT-o3 model. It's specifically fine-tuned for analytical tasks. This version can actually browse the internet, pull information from different websites, solve puzzles, compare, summarize, and even write Python code on the fly if it needs to do some calculations or data analysis. As a result, you get sharper, more complete answers that are easier to understand. But the O3 model is only available on the paid plan, which costs around $20 a month. But honestly, if you can afford it, I would say go for it. It's so much more than just another subscription. Think of it the same way you think about your laptop, your Figma license, or your Adobe subscription. It's not an expense, it's an investment in how fast and smart you work. Remember, in the beginning of the video, I said that being a product unicorn might sound like too much from one individual, but it is not impossible with the help of AI. This is what I meant. This month, challenge yourself to learn at least 7 new things that you're not fully confident about using ChatGPT. It could be diving deeper into one of the fundamentals from month 1, picking up cross-functional knowledge like PRD and stuff, or learning how to better explain your design decisions. One of my favorite ways to use ChatGPT is for exactly that: articulation. I often give it a line or two of context about the designs that I have made, and then I ask it to generate a clear, logical explanation for why that approach makes sense. It helps me put forward my thoughts into words, especially when I'm preparing for presentations and reviews. Alright, month 4 is getting better at human powers. Now, this is probably the most important month in this 6-month roadmap. You already know what AI is. I'm talking about human intelligence, or your brain. This month is all about tapping into your human strengths, the kind of things AI still can't do as well as we can. You see, we humans have a unique edge, but the real game is in knowing how to use that edge. There's a set of skills called epoch skills. You may not have heard of them, mostly because the world is right now obsessed with AI. Epoch stands for empathy, presence, opinion, creativity, and hope. Financial researchers actually call these irreplaceable skills because, especially in situations that involve moral judgment or long-term relationships. These are things like common sense, storytelling, cultural nuance, empathy, communication, and sound judgment. And if you notice, these are the very same qualities we often talk about all the time in design. So yes, design and UX deeply depend on these human-first abilities, and that's pretty amazing, isn't it? But just being a human doesn't automatically make you great at them. Sure, some people are naturally gifted, but for most of us, it's a skill set we need to work on, sharpen, and improve over time. Because if you're not strong in these areas, then yes, AI can outshine you even in these epoch skills, but if you do double down on these human superpowers, you will always have an edge that no algorithm can ever match. And that's your true differentiation. You see, we humans deal with all sorts of problems every day, and honestly, we are pretty good at solving them too. You're about to step out for an important meeting and your cab cancels the last minute. You've got 5 guests coming over, but you have only 2 chairs in your room. You need a new laptop in the next 1 month, but you can save the money for it only in the next 3 months. These are all everyday challenges, some big, some small, and we often find clever, quick solutions to them. It's nothing but resourcefulness, creativity, or pure jugaad. But here's the funny part. When it comes to solving design problems, we often forget we already have this skill. We overthink, hesitate, or wait for that perfect process. Don't separate your everyday problem-solving mindset from your design work. Use the same brain, the same same instincts you use in your life. That quick thinking that you use when your cab cancels last minute or when you juggle limited resources when guests arrive unexpectedly, bring that same scrappy practical thinking into your design process as well. Stop overcomplicating it. Design is still problem solving, just in a different format. Once you start treating design challenges the same way you handle life's challenges and use your full brain, you will find yourself coming up with faster, smarter solutions. But how do you actually use your full brain? It's not like there's a switch you can flip and then you go into the full brain mode, right? It can feel a little tricky to begin with, but here's a secret. Remove all the constraints when you're starting to solve a problem. Start imagining a hypothetical world where you can do anything, almost like how you think when you're solving a life problem. You don't start by saying that this can't be done or this cannot be possible and so on, right? Of course, in your work, there will be real constraints, timelines, tech limits, budgets, but bring those in later. In the beginning, let your mind wander freely. No rules, no limits. That's when your brain is at the most creative, and you might just land on ideas that your constrained brain would never be able to come up with. And have faith in yourself. Your brain is fully capable of taking an out-of-the-box idea, adding in the constraints, and still figuring out how to make it work. That's how truly original solutions are born. Use pen and paper to get your thoughts out. Sketch, scribble, write, draw, whatever helps you think. And if it doesn't make sense, feel free to crumble the paper and toss it in the bin, or use a whiteboard if you're feeling a little fancy. The point is, don't worry about pixels or polish. Focus on solving the problem first. I actually made a video recently on wireframes where I talk about how they can be a powerful tool for thinking. Check it out there. Pro tip, let ChatGPT act as a sparring partner. Describe your wireframe and ask, what might confuse the first-time user? You surface blind spots early. And where does AI help in this regard? As your learning partner again. Today, anyone can type in a question in ChatGPT and get a surface-level answer in seconds. Definitions, examples, even relevant frameworks, all just a prompt away, which means if you stop at the basics, you're not doing anything unique. As a professional in the age of AI, your value lies in how deeply you understand the concepts. It's not just about knowing what a rule says. It's about knowing why the rule exists. Why was it made? When it actually helps versus when it doesn't. For example, the 3-click rule. Some of you might have heard of it. It's the idea that users should be able to find anything within 3 clicks. AI can tell you what it is, but you should be the one who knows when that rule makes sense, where it makes sense, and where it doesn't hold up in your context. Or consider Gestalt principles like proximity or similarity. A beginner might apply them blindly, which is absolutely okay, but a seasoned designer knows how to bend those rules, maybe spacing things out more deliberately to guide the eye differently depending on context. That's the level you need to aim for now. Learn the fundamentals so deeply that you're not just following the rules, you're making conscious decisions about when to follow them, when to break them, and why it matters. That's what will set you apart in a world where AI knows just enough, but real designers go way beyond. Alright, month 5, vibe everything. When I say vibe everything, I'm not talking about vibing to your music, of course. I'm talking about chatting with AI to get your work done, whether it's design, development, or product thinking. You've probably heard of vibe coding, where you talk to an AI and it writes codes for you. If you haven't, check out the video I made. It's a detailed hands-on guide on vibe coding and why it's the skill that you need to learn in 2025. But here's where I'm calling it a vibe everything and not just vibe coding, because this isn't limited to coding anymore. The same approach, chatting with your tools, is going to be a normal way of working across everything, including design. Take Figma for example. They recently launched something called Figma Make. While it is marketed as a new way to prototype through chat, it's actually much more than that. It is powered by Claude 3.7 and it already lets you build interactive prototypes just by giving it in chat instructions. And trust me, this is just the beginning. Very soon, you'll be able to not just prototype but also design by simply chatting with Figma. That's what I mean by vibe designing. Now imagine where we are headed. You come up with an idea, talk to real people, brainstorm with ChatGPT, write a PRD, design it, prototype it, even ship the first version, all by just chatting with AI. That's the future of product building, and that's what makes product unicorns. That is, people who can do a little bit of everything and get it done using the power of AI. But for that to happen, you need to get comfortable with vibe building, giving clear instructions to AI over chat to build something for you. Sounds easy, and it mostly is, but there are nuances. How should you talk to AI? What does it do really well? Where does it struggle? What are the common mistakes you might run into? How can you overcome them? The only way to truly understand all these nuances of vibe coding is to try it out for yourself, and luckily it's already widely available. And soon vibe designing will be just as common. But that doesn't mean you always have to design by chatting with AI. You will still have the option to work with the traditional way, that is moving things around with your mouse just like you do today. If you look at vibe coding tools like Lovable, you get all the options. You can chat with AI to build your product, that's a vibe coding way, or you can get into the actual code and tweak things a manual way as well. You can even use simple drop downs and buttons to change simple things like fonts, colors, and layouts. So it's not about replacing your current ways of working completely. It's about expanding your toolkit. Now let me give you a real life example to explain why having multiple ways of doing something matters. At my home, 90% of the things are automated. Smart home, you know? And based on what I have used and learned so far, here's what I have observed. The easiest way to turn on a light is to just press the switch if it is nearby. And if it is not, the next easiest is probably tapping on a button on your mobile phone, because my phone is always with me. And if my hands are busy, a voice command works the best. The easiest way to draw a curtain is to just pull them by hand if the curtain is light. If the curtain is a ceiling height and heavy, a motorized remote or app control is the easiest way. Ordering food is easiest by tapping on a few buttons on your phone if you are at home. But if you are dining out at a restaurant, the easiest and the most natural way is to talk to the waiter directly and place your order. So you see, there is no single best way. It depends on the situation. The more options you have, the better your chances of choosing the most efficient one. And it's on us to choose the right method based on the situation. For example, if I'm standing right next to the switch and I still ask Alexa to turn it on, I'm just making things slower and not smarter. But if I'm away from home and I urgently need to turn on the lights at home and I do not know how to use the app to do it, I am massively missing out. So the real deal is knowing all your options so that you can pick the most efficient one when it matters. Now that might make you feel that designers are going to be the all-powerful breed, isn't it? Hold on, it's true for everyone. PMs, developers, marketeers, everyone can now do more with AI. So while we embrace these new superpowers and become more versatile, our paths to becoming product unicorn also needs to double down on what sets us apart. That is our core skills. That's where our real edge lies. Because in the age of vibe everything, knowing how to guide AI is power, but knowing what to build, why it matters and how it feels, that's design, and that's still human. So now we are in month 6, the last month of this roadmap. This month is all about building your portfolio, your most important career asset as a designer. Think of it this way. When you apply for a job, you're usually not physically present to explain your work. So how do you convince someone that you are good enough to be shortlisted? Your portfolio does the talking for you. It's the proof of your skills, your thinking, and your potential. At its core, a portfolio is a collection of your projects, not just pretty screens, but detailed case studies that show how you think, solve problems, and build great user experiences. Here's a simple way to understand it. Imagine going on a fun trip, a picnic with your friends, and later you write a blog about what happened, what you saw, how you traveled, what you ate, the fun you had, and what you learned. A case study is just like that, except it's all about your design journey and not a picnic journey. What was the problem? What did the users need? What did you try? What worked? What didn't? Now, just because we are focusing on portfolios in month 6 doesn't mean that you start your projects now. Ideally, you would have already done most of the design work in the previous months, while you were learning the tools, exploring AI workflows, and vibe designing. This month is about documenting that work into polished, well-written case studies. That said, while writing, if you notice gaps in your earlier work, maybe something could be improved or explained better, that's normal. Feel free to revisit and refine your design. That's a part of the process. I've also seen many people, including a quick Loom video walkthrough explaining the decisions, in addition to all the writing in the case study. Loom is a tool that lets you record your video while you're explaining something on screen share, and you do it right. This can be a great value addition to your case studies. So how many projects do you need? Aim for 2 to 3 strong UX case studies. These can be real-world projects, internships, freelance, or client work, or they could also be passion projects or mock designs, or they could even be AI-assisted, like something done with Lovable and Bolt and so on. If you're not able to think what project to work on, do check out sharpen.design. This is a website which has tons of problem statements that you can pick and start working. Just make sure that you pick work that shows depth. Project where you have gone beyond surface level visuals and actually tackled user problem. I know it's hard to understand what depth means when I speak to you like this, You can understand how deep one should go only when you read some well-written case studies. I will leave the links of some well-written case studies in the description. Definitely go through them. But also remember that if you're applying for UX roles, keep your portfolio focused on UX projects only. Mixing in branding or graphic design can dilute your positioning. That said, if you have supporting skills like motion design, illustration, prototyping, or even basic front-end, highlight them within the context of your UX work itself. For example, I also created the onboarding animation to help reduce user drop-offs in the first session. Make it clear that every skill you have is used in designing better user experience. Your future employer isn't just looking at your screens, they're reading your thinking. They're asking, can this person solve real problems? Can they collaborate with AI and still bring human judgment? Do they understand users, not just aesthetics? And definitely showcase outcomes and impact if you have access to the data, like reduced friction in checkout flow by 40%. Makes it sound a lot more convincing, right? But if you don't have the data and if you're working on a mock project, so don't worry about it, it's okay. Last but not the least, how should your portfolio actually be? Well, you've got a few options here. The key thing is your portfolio should be shareable as a link. It should work across platforms, whether someone's opening it on a phone or a laptop. You could also build your personal website, super easy these days with the vibe coding tools, and showcase your work in a clean case studies section. But if you're not up for building a site, that's totally fine too. There are plenty of free platforms like Medium where you can post your work. Just remember, having a personal website is a nice to have, not a must have. What really matters is what you write in your case studies, your thinking, your decision, and your process. Now here's what to avoid: emailing attachments. Why? Because when companies are hiring, they're usually looking at many candidates at once. HR often compiles all these portfolio links into a single Google Sheet and shares it with their design team. If you send a file instead of a link, someone has to manually upload or attach that file. Extra effort, extra friction. And as a designer, your job is to simplify things and not complicate them, right? Sure, you can upload a PDF to Google Drive and share the link, but PDFs have a fixed dimension and you won't know whether the viewer is on a mobile or a desktop. That can make viewing your work unnecessarily clunky. So to keep things smooth and professional, go for a website or a platform that supports responsive layouts like Medium. It's cleaner, easier, and shows that you have thought about the user experience right from the first click. You can check out this video to build your portfolio. I have shared some insights in it which will be really helpful to you. And now that you've got the plan, it's up to you to execute. This 6-month roadmap is more than just a checklist, it's your launch pad. Every month, every project, every tool you learn builds momentum. If you stay consistent, you will be someone who ships, collaborates, and who gets hired. And don't go through this alone. Share your journey on Instagram or LinkedIn using UX in 6 hashtag. This is Sapta signing off. See you all in the next one.